Good afternoon, and welcome to the Voice of Wisdom. With over 60 years of experience as an investment banker, entrepreneur, venture capitalist, securities analyst, and advisor, Morty Davis is a Wall Street legend. In addition, Mr. Davis is an outstanding economist and highly articulate, incisive, and very entertaining political analyst and strategist. He's Wall Street and capitalism personified. The over 400 companies for which he has raised more than $3 billion over the years have created a countless number of jobs and exciting new products. Through the Voice of Wisdom, Mr. Davis explores, analyzes, and debates the most topical economic and social issues facing our world today. Joining Mr. Davis today for a discussion on the news making the headlines is Len Carter. Len is an investment banker, business consultant, and private investor. And now, Mr. Davis and Mr. Carter.
Hello again. It's Wednesday, 6:30, and we have this regular date, so I'm delighted to be back with you, my favorite people. You're the ones that make this show interesting and compelling. Your comments are wonderful. I appreciate all your input. They make me wiser, and even the ones that are sometimes have the immediate effect of hurting my feelings, and that they seem overly critical. I spend a little time reflecting on them, on your input, and it makes me wiser. I stop and I judge what you're saying, and there's merit to much that you say and contend and endorse. So I want to thank you, and you're being my cohorts and so influential in making this podcast the popular destination for so many people. Each week we had more and more. Not during the live session so much, but during the follow-on on YouTube and or what are these? Some of the other
Rumble and Spotify and
Spotify, yeah. So it's great to be back with you again. I love you all. You're my favorite people in the world. After my cherished immediate family, my spouse, my children, my grandchildren, but you're the best, and I look forward to every Wednesday at 6:30. And today we're lucky once again to have Len Carter join us. I have to impose on him. He's always overwhelmingly busy. He gets $1,000 an hour as a consultant for the firm he works for, the biggest consulting firm, most successful consulting firm in the world. What's the name of it again?
I used to work at McKinsey & Company.
McKinsey, which he joined right after he graduated Harvard Business School. And then he joined Goldman Sachs, another great institution, one of the leading Wall Street investment bankers. And so it's great to have him on.
Thank you, Morty.
We don't have to pay him. I don't have to pay him $1,000 an hour. He does it as an accommodation for me because I push him very hard. And I want to thank you, Leonard.
Thank you.
Leonard's brilliant. Every school he went to, he graduated with top honors, top of his class, awards, and every measure of superiority and wisdom. He attended one of the best Ivy League schools in the United States, Cornell University, where he received a degree in electrical engineering. Again, I say at top of his class with honors. Then he attended Harvard Business School, the toughest school to get into. They take one out of every maybe 100 applicants, and it's the best business school in the world. He graduated with honors from Harvard Business School. That's my alma mater as well. And finally, he went to Stanford University, the number one university in the world, graduating the most successful techies, all the billionaires, all the great companies that we have come to depend on, Google and Apple. It's right outside of San Francisco, and he graduated with honors from that school. So everywhere he's surfaced, he reached the top of the Wisdom Awards. So it's a real privilege and pleasure for me to have him, Len, join us. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Morty.
And so, again, welcome back. I love you all. And as I say, as my cohorts in this effort, in this podcast, you contribute so greatly to whatever success and popularity we've managed to achieve. So, without further ado, let's get on with the podcast, this week's podcast, which inevitably, as I pointed out, is likely to depress you as it does me, because it's all based on the headlines of the week, which inevitably seem to be all the saddest events, the fires, the floods, the killings of young children at school, 8, 10-year-olds and their teachers, and the mass shootings that occur throughout the United States on a regular basis, the slaughter. In this country, we experience more than one of those every single day. Hard to believe. We have such a predominance of gun ownership and the love of guns by our population. We have more guns than we have people in this country. Unbelievable. And even though majority of the voters are some kind of gun control, the lobby of the gun manufacturers, gun wholesalers, the gun retail stores is so powerful and spends so much money that Congress are reluctant to touch it, that issue, and put any kind of controls on guns in this society, because they know that that's the number one issue of that group of the manufacturers, wholesalers, retailers, and if somebody ever votes for gun control, their political careers are cooked because they bring out the biggest financial support to any challenger to that person, or they arrange for the challenges. It's so depressing, but that's the nature of what we discuss, the breaking news, because good news is never that exciting. It may be exciting for the immediate family that their child is the first one that ever attended a university and graduated at the top of his class, or some other philanthropist donated $100 million to a university or to an educational effort to improve education results in this country. Doesn't make the front page. Doesn't make breaking news. They don't interrupt our listening to network television or
Cable
TV, or the front page of the New York Times or the New York Post or the major magazines. So by virtue of that news that we cover, for me it's always depressing. That's what makes the exciting news. And since we cover the events of the week, the major events of the week that are we're made aware of because the headlines in the New York Times and the New York Post and all of the magazines and other media outlets. I get depressed discussing these floods and tragedies. And if you're anywhere near normal, as I hope most of you are, it's got to depress you. But that's the nature of what we cover. So up front, I have to apologize to you for making you more depressed than you otherwise might be. I know that it does that to me. And incidentally, that's one of the reasons I have the book on the screen. If you have a picture of my latest book, Happiness Guaranteed, or Your Misery Back, the subtitle is on the lower part of the page, How to Be Happy No Matter What. So why is that relevant in this context? Because when I was younger, real young, I was depressed about life and about lots of things until one day I ran across a book by Norman Vincent Peale,
Yep.
Peale, called The Power of Positive Thinking. After I read that book and instituted that behavior of thinking positively about every event, no matter how devastating it was, it seems that at the moment it made me more upbeat and more positive, and it changed my life. It made me more, I would say, happy, but in the United States we define, it seems, happiness as somebody who's on drugs or on a bottle of vodka or 12 beers, and they're slap happy, they're backing their friends and their associates on the back and laughing, and which seems like happiness, but after the effects wear off, they're more miserable than they were before. So I'm talking about contentment throughout your life, much more meaningful than happiness. So since that book inspired me and my life to go from depression and a negative outlook to the power of positive thinking and being positive about everything in life ever since. It brought contentment to me, and in the process, contentment to my immediate family, my children, my grandchildren, my best friends, my neighbors, my fellow Americans, and my fellow human beings. So I have it in front of me to suggest that if you get a chance, I would urge you to run out. Don't wait. Don't delay it. Run out and acquire, buy yourself a gift of this book. Or somehow get a copy of it. It'll change your life, as the power of positive thinking did for me. So it's the best investment you will ever have made, because everybody who ever bought this book, or at least the ones that got in touch with me, and there's many, many people that got in touch with me after they acquired the book, in most cases got it as a gift, raved about it, and told me how much benefit it's given them, how much it's uplifted their lives and improved their attitudes. So it's been so gratifying to me and so eye-opening that I was able to make the following offer to all the people that ever bought it, or ever got a gift of the Happiness Guaranteed or your Misery Back book. It uplifted their lives. It made them, as Bishop Sheehan said, think more positively, as it did me. And so I was motivated to write along the same lines as Bishop Sheehan, one that uplift others that I'm exposed to, or just all of my family, my children, my grandchildren, my neighbors, my best friends, my fellow Americans, and indeed my fellow human beings throughout the world. So having had that positive experience, I have come to the recognition that I could offer, if you buy the book or you get it as a gift and you're not thrilled that it's the best acquisition you ever made, the best money you ever spent, or the best gift you ever got, I will, if you send me the purchase slip with the price that you paid, I will send you back double whatever the purchase price is. If you get it as a gift, just get a copy of the purchase slip from your gifter, and I'll return that, so you'll get double the amount of that cost, and it'll be infinite markup because you paid nothing, and you'll be getting double the amount listed on the purchase slip. Okay, so without further delay, let's get on to this week's exciting events, headline news.
Okay, Morty. So, last time we talked about the very beginning of the attack on Iran. Now we're a little over a week into it. When it first started, the president said it was going to be quick, not a forever war. So first, big picture. We'll start off with a big picture question. So what's your take on how things are going, and do you agree with President Trump's statement the other day that the war, a quote, "the war is very complete, pretty much." He also now doesn't even talk about it being a war, but rather a short-term excursion. So what's your take on that?
Well, the only part of that statement that I take issue with is that it's complete, because Iran still is there, and their fanatic compulsion to hate America and to destroy America and its values. They pledge, and they continue to repeat endlessly that they want to destroy the great Satan, which is the United States. They think the United States is so horrible that it's a great Satan. Israel, they consider the little Satan, or the less great Satan. So I don't believe it's complete. As a matter of fact, I think it's long overdue that we attacked a country that's been articulating, not only articulating the hatred, but manifesting the hatred of the United States by its actions for 46 years, going back to their capturing the embassy in Iran when the Ayatollah first took over from the Shah of Iran, and took captive all our personnel in Iran and all the
embassy.
What? Pardon me?
The embassy.
Yeah, the embassy, but all of the personnel that we had stationed there and they were held hostage for a significant period of time.
Yep.
Jimmy Carter made some kind of minor effort. He sent in a few troops. They didn't even get to the capital, and he withdrew the troops, and that was the effort to get this evil empire that was already abusing us 46 years ago and hasn't stopped since. So I think his launching of this effort deserves all the plaudits because it's long overdue.
So if
and also I might point out, as right as it is and as successful as it is, instead of the Democrats congratulating him or those that opposed to Trump's philosophies or those of his followers, they don't even give him credit for something that's apparently fabulous, long overdue.
So if on the subject of definition of complete, we saw Pete Hegseth the other day said that the mission was destroy the ballistic missile capability, destroy the Navy, and eliminate any ability to have a nuclear weapon. So
of getting
would you say that
any material that is even available to them?
So would you say that in your mind that what would you need to see before you would answer the question, as Trump says, the war is complete? What would you define as complete? Those three things that Hegseth said, or more?
More. I would say where we completed an effort that was admirable was in our war against Hitler's Germany and Japan that attacked us in the midst of the discussions in Washington while we were having diplomatic discussions. They bombed Pearl Harbor and led to the Second World War. So unconditional surrender, where we replaced the government, where we never had a problem with either of those countries of this nature. To me, that's complete. We never completed the Korean War. We still haven't got a peace agreement, even though there's no military confrontation occurring at the time.
Yep.
We never completed the Vietnam War. We just pulled out and
left.
Yeah, it ended, but it wasn't complete.
It was like Afghanistan. We just left.
Yeah, and it turned out that they weren't as fanatic as Iran, so it ended without any. Although it was an enormous price because we lost so much wealth, blood, and treasure. But so those are the only two that I could think of that have complete.
We'll be back, but you may be disappointed because so far the mission, it doesn't include, what you are mentioning, where it requires a change of regime acceptable to the U.S.
Yeah,
at least that's not what that.
That's why I take issue with.
So we'll see.
I don't take issue with the attacking, which should have been done long ago by many of the presidents since 46 years ago. But I do take issue with his statement. It's complete.
Yeah. No, I mean, this could be another half-done job, which comes back to be a problem down the road, right? I mean, if we wind up leaving, before, just destroying the Navy and the ballistic missiles, and for now, nuclear capability, but the regime that is there when we leave is as bad or worse, and they say that Khomeini's son, the new supreme leader, could even be worse than the father.
Even if temporarily they stopped acquiring more fissionable
uranium. It's a mentality. It's a mentality. It's a philosophy, a theology that needs to change.
We haven't changed.
That's true. I mean, that's why. So Trump said, his messaging sometimes is a little conflicting, because on one hand, his administration's citing those three goals: missiles, Navy, and nukes. And then the other day, he said that he needs to have a say in choosing Iran's next leader. So do you think that's even possible? How do you do that? If he's not one of the people there choosing the leader, how do you do that?
I think it's not only possible, it's essential, because we did that in Japan. We put in our own leader. We didn't even have an election for 8 years. General Douglas MacArthur was running the country for 8 years before they gave a vote to the people, unlike the war we won in Iraq, where immediately after we won the war, we put in their political leaders. So, but it's tragic that here's something that I think should have been universally applauded by all Americans, because it was long overdue. We're laying back while a country is literally damaging, they're killing Americans throughout these 46 years, and we're just doing zero. We're letting them run wild. And instead of it, usually every country during a war, everybody joins in to back the government, to consolidate. Here's a case where I think he did great. Instead of giving Trump any credit at all, it became all political, even though it might have been deemed as a good action. They took issue with it because it was Trump that did it.
Well, yep. I mean, unfortunately, that happens on both sides of the aisle. Even good things that actually happen.
But unfortunately, it becomes political instead of what's good for the world and good.
I agree with what you're saying in terms of that's what should happen. But I'm not convinced that the country, based on some of the things you just said, the polarization and the contingent of people that just don't like anything that Trump does, that the country will have the will to do what you have to do to change the regime. Because that, I believe, requires troops in the city, literally, building to building, rooting out people. And I don't know if you can affect a regime change just with bombs. Because once you bomb all the military facilities, unless you start going after other infrastructure and civilian things, how do you create enough pain for the regime change to happen. You know, unless the people uprise by themselves and cause it, but they have such.
Well, the Iranian people were pretty angry because
they were, but look what happened. They,
No,
you know, and the
and-
IRGC is so brutal that they'll just kill everybody.
But in this case, unlike in many other cases, Trump got rid of the evil leaders.
Not yet. The son is just
got-
replaced the bad one with another bad one. So let's talk about some of the other things that has been happening. You know, we saw Iran attack its neighbors, thinking it could drive a wedge between the neighbors and the U.S. and make the neighbors so unhappy that they put pressure on the U.S. to stop. But it seems to have had a backfire effect where the neighbors are not so happy they're being attacked and want to defend themselves.
I think
so
that's a bad strategy on their part.
it does seem to be.
It creates more energy.
Yeah, they thought it would have an opposite effect. And
the ones that might not have been in any way even mildly supportive of the U.S. position have taken an anti-Iran attitude now.
So then you see, I think, Iran realizing that wasn't such a smart move. And then they came out the other day and apologized to the neighbors, their Arab neighbors, you know, for attacking them and some of their civilian sites. Do you think that is going to have any impact? Do you think that'll de-escalate the situation in any way, or just not have much of a movement?
I don't think it'll have a significant movement because Iran its leadership is just evil and destructive, and they're doing things every day that hurt their position, even with their own people. That's the best thing that the United States has going for it. That the Iranian population cheered when the Khomeini was they found that Khomeini was killed and no longer the leader.
So, you know, let's talk about implications and fallout from this, because I think one of the things that, while people may applaud the concept of a new Iran, the economic and more pocketbook hitting issues often have a way of, you know, driving and shifting and swaying policy. So, you know, Iran being facing, you know, kind of an existential threat is just lashing out and doing whatever it can, and that might get worse as you know, we do more and more damage, and we see them attacking or trying to thwart the movement of oil through the Straits of Hormuz. Oil's up like 40 or 50% in a week or week and a half. So what do you think happens if oil goes to 150 a barrel, like some people are
Trump
saying?
has to do what he's so good at. Sell the validity of what he's doing, the rightness of what he's doing. For example, in the Second World War, it was a lot worse than what happened now with oil. We had rationing. You couldn't fill up your tank unless you had ration tickets. And if you had ration tickets, it would entitle you to a very limited supply. So people gave up driving, and they lived with it. And Not only that, we had rationing of things like meat and butter, such all the essentials.
Tin foil.
What? Tin
Like the foil on gum, right? Was rationed.
Well, that we could have survived.
Well, metal. It was metal.
Yeah. No, but I'm saying, you're talking about basics like meat and butter and driving. I remember I had to wait one day a week that with my license plate I could get gas. And if I drove somewhere and it was the wrong day, I couldn't fill up my car. It was really, a major imposition. And the people, because they bought into the effort, were totally supportive.
But
so much so that even though their own children, their sons, were drafted to serve and get killed by the enemy, they were all gung-ho for the policies of Franklin Delano Roosevelt.
I think people are a lot more spoiled today than they were in the 40s. And I don't know if they have, when we had the Iraq War in the 2000s, there was no suffering. People, they didn't even raise taxes to pay the war. They just funded it with debt. So it didn't affect people's lives in any way. Here,
it's not they're more spoiled. The sale was made for Roosevelt by the vicious attack of the Japanese,
right? On the homeland.
Yeah, while they were negotiating a peace agreement.
So how do you make that sale today?
So the people,
when you don't have an attack like you did,
Roosevelt didn't have to make the sale. So now Trump has to make that sale. Say, look, 46 years uninterruptedly, they've been harrowing, they're killing American soldiers in, what do you call it? They killed a bunch of Marines in
Beirut.
In Lebanon.
Lebanon, yep.
So
in '83.
But in the Second World War, Americans in total were so pissed off at the secret attack,
But I don't know, but I don't think you had half of the country saying we don't have to have this. Today, part of the problem is when Trump tries to make the sale.
Nobody ever said that during the Second World War.
I'm saying that's why it's much more difficult today, because you have half the country Trump says we need, tries to be a leader and says we need to do this, and half the country says, no, you don't, he's wrong.
He hasn't done a good selling job. If he's explained what happened in Lebanon and throughout these 46 years, you'd say all those presidents in between were just worthless, negligent, totally irresponsible. How do you let a country, a bully, attack you, kill your people, and not respond? It's unbelievable that we tolerated that. That presidents, one after the other, tolerated that. That's why I say what Trump did was heroic and the right thing to do. And even though it was the right thing to do, it's turned out to be all political instead of joining forces to deal with a major problem that we as a country were facing.
Earlier this week, Trump said he had a plan to curb surging oil prices. no details, but what do you think such a plan could be? I mean, if you were an advisor, do you think there is a way to curb oil prices short of, finishing the job quick and moving on to stability? Is there you think there's some other plan that
Well,
he could have to
he
do
could
that?
he could use the emergency inventory that we
Strategic oil reserve?
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
he could use
Release
that.
that to let some pressure off
Yeah.
prices, I guess.
And
Although that's not
but he could do
that's
more.
not much.
He could ration. He could do what we did in the Second World War. There's lots of things you could do.
But would rationing curb prices?
Yes.
But it's only given that the price of oil set globally, how would rationing in the U.S. change the global price? You think it would?
No, it doesn't have to change the global price. All he has to do is change the price in the United States.
How do you change just the price in the United States when oil's set
can't
globally?
You can't buy it.
So you'd have to
ration it.
And you'd have to
Put limits on what
block
people could
any
buy.
imports of oil, so only people could buy it here from domestic producers.
Yeah. It's not the people that go to the gas station don't buy it from international outlets.
Yeah, but the price is set. I'm not sure if you could do that. I mean, even if all the oil is produced here, and most of it is actually, the price is still set on in a world market, and not necessarily what is done locally or domestically. So I don't know. I don't know.
Well,
I don't know what this plan is. I mean,
that's a presumption that you're making, because we have enough oil, we're sufficiently independent that the world price shouldn't necessarily affect us.
But it does.
Because we don't do anything about it. We're passive.
But if we're consuming all the oil that we produce,
But we have enough.
so why did the price go up here? If we're not buying any expensive oil, why did it go up?
Because the oil companies sell it to the highest bidder.
Right, so you'd have to prevent them from doing that somehow. You'd have to tell the oil companies you can't do that anymore.
No, you do like he did with the tariffs. We can't export it. We don't let them sell it to China or.
Right, but what about setting charging high prices here? You'd have to prevent them from doing that.
You're saying you want to lower.
I'm saying, how do you tell domestic producers that they can't charge buyers or refiners of oil the $100 a barrel? They only can charge them $60.
What do you mean? The government could put a limit.
They could. I mean, you'd have to do that.
Yeah.
You'd have to fix a price,
Right.
which, all right. I mean, that wouldn't be too popular. Even ironically, even among Republicans who don't like price fixing
Nixon did it.
tried it, didn't work. So I don't know. I mean, maybe I think the best plan is to use naval protection in the Straits of Hormuz to get the ships
Why don't you
across.
tell Trump what to do? You have the answer?
I said, I think that's what I would do. That's what the show is about.
What should you do?
Use naval resources. And Trump's even said he was going to do that.
We're doing it. We've bombed the hell out of
but
the
use
ships.
escorts.
We've bombed the ships.
Use naval escorts, which haven't started yet, to escort oil tankers, provide safe passage through the straits. That hasn't been done yet.
Yeah, but that's expanding the war effort and putting more Americans at risk. He's doing it without that major risk by bombing. He's bombed their whole navy.
Right, but you can still have renegade pirates boating around the Straits of Hormuz with RPGs or mines going after oil tankers. You need to police that in the straits.
But then we're a partner in limiting the passage of oil through the.
Yeah. I mean, that's what Trump said he wants to do.
I didn't hear that.
Absolutely. He said he was going to do two things, and then also provide reasonably cost insurance.
But he hasn't.
Not yet. I'm just saying I think that it's a good idea. I would do that.
Not because it doesn't work. All the captains of the ships said they don't give a shit about the insurance. They're not going on these ships.
I think
doesn't matter if the oil companies want to. Sure, they want to sell it.
That's why I think you need the naval escorts. If you had destroyers escorting the boats, the tankers
but if
through
the captains refuse to head those ships because their lives are in danger, because there's a war going on.
So the way that you mitigate the danger is by having the ship protected by naval vessels as it goes through the strait. That's what Trump's saying he wants to do. I mean, you're laughing like I came up with that idea, but actually that's what Trump said.
That's one of the reasons it hasn't happened.
I don't know. He hasn't done it
If
yet.
he wants to do it, he could do it.
He just hasn't done it yet. I mean, he hasn't said he's not going to do it.
No, but when he says he's going to do it, they always said about Trump, whatever he says he's going to do, he does.
Well, he said he was going to do it, so
I know, but
we'll
he
see.
didn't. Anything else he said he's going to do, he always did. That's one thing you could count on Trump. He says he's going to do something, and he does it.
So one of the big impacts economically that we're starting to see from a spike in oil and the rippling effects through the economy is how it affects the market. So we see way higher volatility, big swings in the market. Do you think that from an investor's point of view...
That's the price of oil, war.
Is it... So as an investor, do you take a step back? Do you don't move out of equities until it's over? Do you stay the course? Do you buy oil stocks? What do you think?
That's a judgment call. In other words, if you think it's going to pass, then the fact that the market's down is good for you. You know, it's a good time to buy.
Yeah.
If you think it's so damaging that it's going to have a depression, then
what do you think?
You don't do anything.
What do you think? Which one's it going to be? You think it'll cause a recession and a market pullback, or you think it'll be more modest? I mean, we've seen this before, right? We've seen in '79 when there was the oil disruption. We saw it in early '70s, right after in the embargo, caused a bear market for a number of years. And then in the late '70s, when oil spiked after the Iranian Revolution, we saw the same thing happen. In 2008, when oil spiked to over 100, again, it was, I don't know. I mean, to me, it seems like that's what's probably going to happen.
That's a personal decision. If you're right.
No, I realize that. I'm just saying, what do you think? I realize it's a personal decision, but it's more. I mean, I think it's a scary time to be in the market. I would be lightening up.
You would get out of the market.
Not completely, but I would be lightening up because I do think that
that's what people are doing. Most people are doing what you said.
I do think that this is the worst kind of spur for inflation, and like inflation from like loose monetary policy. That the Fed can deal with because it can tighten policy. It can, but inflation that's spurred from energy shocks that causes a stagflation, that's very hard for the Fed to deal with, because raising rates, which is typically how they deal with high inflation, doesn't always work when the inflation's caused by this energy disruption and an energy inflation.
Mm-hmm.
So, So I don't know. I mean,
people in the
I think
market-
I think this is. I don't think good things happen from
The people
$100
in-
oil.
The people in the stock market have loved what's happened. And the inflation has been in the stocks rather than the other way around.
Yeah.
It hasn't collapsed. It's made records consistently.
Yep. I mean, we're only down a few percent even right now from the peak a month or two ago.
And the NASDAQ is
Yeah.
up dramatically.
It's just that, I
and
mean,
they-
we're only a week or so into it.
No,
So,
but it's
you know,
made new highs all along.
and you know, I mean, the fact that gas prices went up, you know, one day after this, you know, not a drop of oil from the Middle East made it to the, you know, prices go up quick, but not down so quick, as we know.
That's industry.
Yeah.
They like the higher prices.
Yep.
And one of the reasons is it doesn't go down, even though the barrel prices is, once they get it up, they like to collect those higher
Yep. Yeah. It's very sticky. Very sticky.
stinky,
That too.
very stinky.
So, anyway, so we're about out of time,
1 minute.
but
Oh my God.
thanks for
When you're
an
having
interesting
fun.
conversation. Yes, we do always.
Anyway, it was great being with you again. I love you all. Have a great week. Every day of your life should be better than the day before. And God bless you and all your loved ones. See you next Wednesday, 6:30. Bye.